I have the pleasure of introducing Ryman Hospitality Properties, trading under the New York Stock Exchange with the ticker RHP. Ryman is a real estate investment trust specializing in large-scale group-oriented hotels. Ryman has 60 million shares, trading around $95 for a market cap of $5.7 billion, fully consolidated net debt of just under $3 billion, plus a minority interest of $392 million for a total enterprise value of $9.1 billion. Today we'll be focusing on Ryman's media and entertainment assets, the Opry Entertainment Group, which they operate as a consolidated subsidiary. The Opry Entertainment Group is a preeminent live entertainment company focused on the 150 million country music and lifestyle fans. To give you a sense of their growth, OEG has been growing at an adjusted EBITDA of 17% CAGR over the last 7 years. Joining me today is Executive Chairman of Ryman, Colin Reed. Colin has been with Ryman for almost 24 years. He previously served as CEO from 2001 to 2022 and led the company through a strategic reorganization. He also oversaw the minority investment by Atairos and NBC Universal into OEG in 2022. Prior to Ryman, he was part of the senior leadership team of Harrah's Entertainment. Also joining us is Patrick Moore, CEO of the Opry Entertainment Group. Patrick has served on the board of directors for Ryman from 2015 to 2023 when he was appointed CEO. He's been involved with Ryman, though, for almost 18 years, including time he spent consulting while he was at McKinsey, where he was a partner. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I think maybe for some of the audience that isn't as familiar with the Opry Entertainment Group, maybe let's start with sort of an overview. What does Opry Entertainment Group own, and what is the strategy?
Shall I start? Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for Mario. It's good to see you again, and you've been a loyal shareholder of our company for 24 years at least. And hopefully we made you a bunch of money in that period of time. So Ryman, as Justin mentioned, we own primarily two businesses. We're in the big hotel resort business, predominantly under the Gaylord name. We created that brand back 20 plus years ago, and it really is the dominant force in the convention resort hotel market in the United States, and we've done very well with that business. And then we have this business, this entertainment business, which is extraordinarily precious. In Nashville, we own Main and Main. We own the Sistine Chapel in the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman, and many other assets in this city, which is quite frankly an extraordinary city, and you don't see what is going on in Nashville anywhere else on the planet. It really is the hub of music, traditional American country music. It's where the artists live. It's where the songwriters live, the labels, the management companies, and venues, and it is quite extraordinary. And what is happening with this industry, this music, is because of technology, because of iPhones, iPads, it is now becoming ubiquitous. And when you talked about the 130-ish million country lifestyle consumers in the United States that we're very much focused on, my personal view is that there's probably at least 130 million of them living outside of the United States, and we're going to talk about that because we've got some very exciting plans for the Opry group. We also own several businesses where we've partnered up with country artists, Blake Shelton with Old Red, and recently we've launched a new brand called Category 10 with probably the most successful country artist today in America, which is a guy called Luke Combs, a really high-quality individual who's a very good friend. So that's the business, and you're quite accurate. It's growing like a weed. And our issue with this business is, normally you think about a business where you have a long runway, but the issue for us is the runway is very wide. These country lifestyle consumers touch many different businesses, and we're going to talk about some of those in a minute, I suspect.
So what do you think differentiates OEG from other live entertainment companies?
You want to take
Yeah,
that?
no, I'll take that. I mean, Colin referenced some of the assets. I think first and foremost, we have iconic, irreplaceable assets. These are assets that really can't be duplicated. Secondarily, I think there's an element of IP and media related to this business, which is kind of what this conference is about. But as an example, we're on 55 million households weekly with distribution in the U.S. and also now in Sky Arts in the U.K. once a week. And so 2 million people a week watch an Opry show, whether it's through Facebook Live, streaming, or some of our linear platforms. And I'll give you a good example. For our Opry 100 Centennial, which is this year, we had a 3-hour television special on NBC. And we garnered 7 million viewers for that particular show. 50 Opry members played that show. And we had 14 billion media impressions. And that's all earned media. And it would cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to buy that media through traditional channels. And so that IP, that flywheel that Colin was talking about, that ecosystem in Nashville, is really the Silicon Valley for music. And you're now sort of seeing the coastal labels come into Nashville because country music isn't just the same as it was, and it's always evolved, but now it's got incredible elasticity across blues and rock and affectionately called hick hop and Americana and bluegrass. There's so many different flavors of it. And we always call it now not just we were talking about it earlier, it's not really a moment for country music. It's kind of a movement in terms of the strategy. And we're sort of well positioned to not just grow our business within it, but grow country music as a genre collectively.
And congratulations again on the Grand Ole Opry turning 100 this year. You mentioned the performance that you did in March. Are you planning on doing any other activations for the brand to celebrate the 100 years?
Many. Actually, Patrick and I we were in London last week, and we have for 2 or 3 days we were doing a whole bunch of press stuff, BBC and the like, because we're taking the Opry in September to the Royal Albert Hall in London, and it will be televised, it will be streamed all across Northern Europe, and the reception over there is off the charts. And we've got an incredible lineup. Any one of the artists that we're taking would sell out the O Arena in an hour, which is a 25,000-seater arena. The Royal Albert Hall is about 6,000 seats. But this thing, we put the tickets up last Friday. Things sold out, within an hour at a fairly reasonable price. So this is going to be really good stuff. And we're interested in this because what we want to do is communicate with these consumers all across Northern Europe. We now have direct flights into Nashville with British Air. We have them coming from Ireland. We have them coming from Iceland and all of Northern Europe. And we want to bring these consumers to the city of Nashville, care for them, love them, spend time with them, put them through the Opry, put them through all of our businesses, and create even more value for our shareholders.
Great. And so you recently reported first quarter results. Opry Entertainment Group, which you report as a segment, both revenues and EBITDA was up around 34% year over year. A lot of that was driven by some of the new investments. You mentioned Category 10 with Luke Combs. That opened in November, I believe. How is that performing, and any additional color maybe you can provide on that?
You can do the performance bit, but let me just explain to you why we did this deal. This guy, Luke Combs, is very, very unusual. I've been in this business, as you said, 24, 25 years. I haven't seen an artist in Nashville that has the combined qualities that this individual has, because not only is he a great performer, but he's literally like Taylor Swift. He writes all this music. He's had 22 number ones in the space of 7 years. 19 of those he's written himself. And this guy, and most of the early stuff he wrote was all about the woman he fell in love with, his wife now, Nicole. And he now has like 6 million TikTok followers. These are, you know, the 17 to 23-year-old females. This is extraordinary stuff. And so this is why we got into business with him. Not only that, he's a hell of a guy and a really, really nice person.
Yeah.
So talk about the business.
Yeah, and I'd say we're in the business of trying to create one-of-one types of assets. So we haven't talked about Austin City Limits in Austin, Texas, which is the home of the longest-running music television program. The Opry is the home of the longest-running radio television program, not just globally, but not just nationally, but globally. Category 10 is also one-of-one. It's 70,000 square feet. It's a multi-entertainment venue that has a lot of different experiences, and there are a number of different bars in Nashville and elsewhere. This is not that. This is an artist-inspired entertainment venue that has music from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. It has a variety of different programming. It's on the waterfront, and it's the largest building, not just in Nashville, but really one of the largest honky-tonks kind of in the world. I think maybe Billy Bob's in Texas is a little bit bigger, but at 70,000 square feet. This week is CMA Fest for those of you that know country music in Nashville, and the rooftop overlooks all of the stages, and so it's just a preeminent position, and it's done really well, not just with the audience and fans that kind of and the tourists that go to Nashville, but also with private events. It's a very big private event building.
Yeah, no, it's running a little bit ahead of where we pro-form with this thing, and we're very happy with it. And you know, we'll preempt your next question, which I'm sure is, you know, what are we going to do with that brand? And we're going to find locations where the country lifestyle consumer wants to be, wants to frequent, or lives, and we'll probably roll 2 or 3 of these things out over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. It's a very exciting concept. The other thing that's intriguing to me, and you know, Patrick and I have talked a lot about this. Luke was in Australia in January. He played 6 locations. He played rugby football stadiums. 400,000 people. He's now the most successful, the most sought-after artist in Australia. I'd like to find a way that maybe we can lift this product, not maybe do it ourselves, but find other people's capital to essentially take this product and put it in the remote location of Australia. I think we have opportunities too because of the demand for this music all across Northern Europe. I think there's opportunities there. But primarily right now we're focused domestically here in the United States.
Yeah, and if you think about that flywheel, which we kind of think about not just in Nashville, but with the artists themselves. So Luke has 60 million listeners across digital streaming platforms and 3 million people in his fan base. Luke is an Opry member. Luke is a business partner. And he's also a phenomenal artist, right? And so when we see, you know, the business partnership, the Opry membership, and sort of that engagement that we have with him and his fans, it translates not just to our businesses, but to all of the other artists that work and collaborate with Luke.
That's great. So I'd like to talk about Southern Entertainment. So you made a majority stake, which brings OEG into the festivals business. Can you maybe talk about what you liked about Southern Entertainment, and specifically I'm interested in how you're going to integrate that into the artist development program?
Patrick can describe it. He was very instrumental in getting this deal done. But to me, this is part of the widening. Part of the widening of the runway. The consumers that frequent these fairs and festivals are the same consumers that come to Nashville. They're the same consumers that go to Vegas and, you know, go to our place on the Strip in Las Vegas. So it's part of the widening of the runway. But talk about the actual economics of the business.
Yeah, no, it's a terrific business to add, and Colin talked about the fans, which are really important to sort of circulate and almost rotate like the hotel business between our venues. And then there are the artists who are in many cases Opry members or Opry Next Stage members, so that's that country music component. And then that's really important, by the way, for the artists themselves in terms of the way they make money today versus the way they used to make money, which is fairs and festivals are a really key component. And then Southern Entertainment itself is one of the strongest players in country music festivals. There's actually one in Wildwood, New Jersey, for those of you that want to attend a country music festival. It's sold out, but I can probably find a ticket for you, where there are 4 or 5 Opry members and Opry Next Stage members performing at that festival. And these are some of the most important country music festivals This week is a classic example where Jelly Roll is playing. Today's Thursday. Jelly Roll's playing tonight at the Opry. On Saturday, he's playing our country music festival in Myrtle Beach, and he's an Opry member, or he's a
No, no, no.
Opry adjacent.
He wants to be.
He wants to be an Opry member,
Yeah.
but he's really a fantastic artist with us in terms of his engagement with Opry Next Stage. He grew up in Nashville, and so back to this idea that we have both fans and artists rotate through some of these buildings. It's a really strategic advantage for us and very different than other entertainment and live entertainment businesses.
Are you able to share some of your plans for growing the Southern Entertainment platform? Is that going to be bringing new festivals to different geographies? And how large can it be within sort of the overall portfolio?
Yeah, I think the short answer is we want to grow that festival business. It's a very attractive feature of country music, and it's really an important part of both the fan and artist experience. So we will look at organic opportunities to develop new festivals in ideal locations. We'll also look at selective inorganic opportunities with festivals to create a nice portfolio of festivals, similar to the amphitheater that we just won in Nashville, trying to create a broader kind of highway with which we can add growth to the overall platform. And Southern Entertainment, as an example, is a great platform play because we not just acquired those festivals, we acquired the capability and expertise to run festivals.
And the other part of this is making what they have today even better, because we've spent the last decade building this customer relationship management system where we identify the customers that come to the Opry, the Ryman, all of these other businesses, and we build this relationship with them in a technological environment, and then we're able to push business into the businesses that we're acquiring, and this is an important part of our strategy, and so I think there's going to be some top spin here and making this business even better.
So you mentioned you also recently won the contract to manage the Ascend Amphitheater in Nashville. That's another capital light structure like Southern Entertainment. That's a unique feature. Is that going to be easier to sort of accelerate growth given its capital light? How do you? What are the advantages of that?
Let me start on this one, because if we had an aerial view of Nashville, and real estate in Nashville is just extraordinarily gone through the roof. An acre, half an acre of real estate in downtown Nashville, goes for many multiples of millions of dollars. It's like the Strip in Las Vegas. And if you look at the aerial view, this amphitheater sits right on the river, just up from Broadway. And it is strategically an incredible piece of real estate. And we've just won the rights to control that piece of real estate for a 10-year period of time. And so we see an opportunity with that amphitheater, not just to put 30, 40 high-quality summertime events through there, but activating that real estate more on a 365-day-a-year basis. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity, both for the city of Nashville and for our company.
Yeah, just to add on to what Colin said, this adds a interesting component to our overall portfolio of assets in that city. So we've got buildings ranging now from 700 caps, so a 700-person venue, up to 1,800, then to 2,400 at the Ryman Auditorium, then 4,400 at the Opry, and now 7,000 at the amphitheater. And so when you think about helping artists and their careers as they progress, we've actually had members of our sort of artist community start at the bars and graduate almost all the way through that pipeline. And so we have a program called Opry Next Stage. We're in our 6th year, and we've had a lot of famous artists go through that program, including Lainey Wilson and Megan Maroney and Riley Green, if you know country music. Some really, really high-flying and terrific artists who have been with us for all those years. And so then when you think about artist partnerships, not just in Nashville, you think about the festival business, you think about an amphitheater business where we can actually expand that platform as well. Then you have multiple venues that you can also engage those artists with, and you're always sort of in front of the artists and talking with the artists. And so you have those opportunities, not just on a commercial transaction basis, but because you have a strong relationship, you can create interesting programming for them. And that's a massive addition to that portfolio in Nashville, but also to OEG at large because of the additional vector of potential growth.
So you talked about the variety of different stages that you have within the portfolio. Obviously, in the mecca of country music in Nashville, you've got the two most iconic venues. You've got the Moody Theater in Austin, sort of kind of going down a little bit smaller stages with Category 10 and Ole Red. Now you have the music festivals, and then on the distribution side, you've got radio, the television with your partner NBCU, and also on the digital side with Whiskey Riff. As you look at the portfolio, are there any areas that you think there are gaps or parts of it that you think you'd like to fill out more or grow?
I mean, I want to continue to work on the IP and the media component because we get such a great tailwind. You know, that example I was describing of the show in March, to get 14 billion media impressions it's a really great sort of addition to this business. And the Royal Albert Hall show that Colin mentioned is global news. It's not just a music event in a venue. The artists are actually going from the Grand Ole Opry, rehearsing at Abbey Road Studios, the famous Abbey Road Studios where the Beatles and other acts like Pink Floyd recorded, and then going to the Royal Albert Hall and connecting these iconic music assets and venues with all the intangibles that those sort of signify, gives us such a preeminent spot in the music landscape, not just in the U.S., not just with country, but globally.
Have to be a little bit careful here, but you know, we have this incredible IP Opry shows dating back to the 60s with some of the most iconic artists that we all know, the Johnny Cashes, the Hank Williams of this world, the George Jones. 2 days ago we did a statue unveiling in front of the Ryman of George Jones, and I was talking to his wife Nancy. You know, how do we bring that music alive? We did this 100th anniversary show a couple of months back that was, as Patrick said, hugely successful. But the incredible thing about that show, if any of you in this room watched it, the artists, and we had all of the best artists in country music on that stage, but they weren't playing their music. They were playing music of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. You know, Garth did a George Jones song. So the issue for us is, how do we bring that stuff alive and put it in front of the consumer? Because the consumer is listening to that music. And I think there's some really interesting ideas. And I know we're working on some really interesting ideas about, you know, the resurrection of this incredible music that was the heart and soul of, you know, this nation back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, that we have a unique relationship with. Yes, Mario.
Oh, you're going to take questions. Good.
Oh, I thought you were putting.
I was yawning. You did one of the best road shows for an offering of a public company that I've attended a long time. You own 70%, 30%. 30% put call. What does the 30% say about a liquidity event? And secondly, are you going to compare yourself on a road show to Live Nation? Sony Music in Nashville is taking on everything they can. You don't have A&R. You don't get recurring revenues from all the young singers that you're sprouting. So give me that part of the world. How much money am I going to make for owning Ryman?
Well, hopefully as much as you've made in the past.
I agree with that. I'm delighted. I'm here to applaud your efforts, but keep going.
Yeah. No. Look, I'm not going to waffle here. This is a very, very interesting time for us, and you know, we've talked about this a million times off stream. You know, for us, getting this business ready for prime time, this business, OEG, should not be part of a real estate investment trust. Real estate investment trusts, the investors in real estate do not really truly understand this IP-driven, business that we own. And so we've been really focused on multiple things: the growth of this business, the visibility of this business. This is one of the reasons we're taking the Opry to London, because we've got a ton of investors from that neck of the woods that love this business. So for us, we're building the growth curve in terms of profitability. We brought in a really high level executive to run this business. We made an offer 2 days ago for a chief marketing officer. We're getting the deck stacked from a structural perspective. The profitability this year will be somewhere in around 120 million. But we've also got 2 or 3 really interesting, I think, growth initiatives that we're working on that we want our investment community to have visibility to. And then it comes down to market conditions. And we all know we're living right now in a very, very tumultuous period of time. And but at the right time, we're going to separate this business, and at the right time, you're going to see a world-class roadshow, teeing this business up. And this business will make our investors a bunch more money. So that was the waffle. What about other questions?
Yeah, are there any other questions from the audience?
Sir.
I'm a small stockholder. The question is, what percent of your profits for the last year came from the real estate, and what part came from the entertainment section?
Yeah. So the way to think about it, it's somewhere in the region, I would say, somewhere between 80 and 85% real estate, 15-ish entertainment. But fortunately for us, and we haven't really talked about it, but our hotel business has been growing like a gangbusters. I mean, it's been really, really doing well. And we just, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, we announced that we were acquiring the JW Desert Ridge in Scottsdale. We've got a very unique strategy in our hotel business. It's created loyalty amongst the convention customers, and it's really grown so well. So even though this percentage has stayed about flat, because both businesses have been growing at reasonably high levels of growth. So, but we will uncouple this business at some reasonably period of time in the future, because my sense is this business, handled properly, could trade at very good multiples. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I love your numbers. I think your numbers are really solid. You guys are doing very, very well. I actually very intrigued about your intellectual property. I think you got some good value there, along with the REIT. I'm going to ask maybe 2 to 3 years down the line approach of this. With your IP, have you ever given a thought of tokenizing it, where you can use that IP as a tokenization to kind of digitize some of your assets on the real estate side? I think there's a chance there when you look at it from a digital standpoint. You got the Genius Act that's probably going to be passed in July, maybe July, August, and you got some really solid assets here. Tokenization on the on-chain will probably create a secondary source of liquidity opportunity there. So these are things that I'm hearing when I speak to my clients.
Yeah, no, I would say we haven't thought about tokenization in any real way. I think what we're trying to focus on right now is operating the business, sort of with excellence, and then growing the business. And I think as we think about currencies and ways to kind of either monetize or create incremental sort of investment capital for the business, that might be one of the pathways for it. Right now, OEG, between Ryman with the 70% owner and then the 30% owner, we're very well capitalized, and we do not have any constraints on growth. So that would be more of a sort of a how do you then capture the value of the business. But it's a very good question, and something for us to consider, but not on the plate right now.
Yeah, the interesting part of your question is something that we spend so much time on. So many businesses today are struggling with all of the external pressures that are coming into them. Our business is, how do we deal with the opportunities we have? And, you know, you just laid out an interesting avenue of opportunity, and there are many like this in this business, which we're very excited about.
Yeah, and I would, you know, this is sort of a tangential comment, but it's, you know, what's really interesting about this business is we're unlikely to be disintermediated in any real way by AI and technology. Live events are really important. You see that live events don't have the same amplitude of sort of impact related to up and down cycles, number one. Number two, people want to connect from a live standpoint. And number three, because there's no physical goods, fluctuations in global supply chains with the current turbulence, we don't have any exposure to that sort of thing. So we're insulated in many ways. And then when you add the artist community and the artist relationships, that flywheel is sort of unlike any other live entertainment company. And so it's a really special and unique place. And now we're kind of pretty big relative to the pantheon of businesses that play in this space.
Unfortunately,
I have a question.
please,
So for
please
Mr.
just make
Lee-
it quick. We're 2 minutes over, so we can
Sure,
squeeze
sure.
one more in.
Because the Ryman Hospitality just announced yesterday to close millions of dollars of senior notes due to 2033. And what's the financial strategy behind this? Because that will restrain the liquidity of your cash flow, at least for short term. I'm not sure what's the financial strategy behind this, like short term or long term? Why is this?
Yeah. So when we acquired Desert Ridge, you know, our leverage levels as a company, we're running at about 4 times. We peaked up in 7-8 during COVID, brought it down, was 4 times. And by the way, if any of you in this room are shareholders, you know what we do dividend-wise. Our dividend yield is a fraction under 5%. We're paying very, very good dividends because we're generating a lot of cash. So the issue for us when we decided to buy this asset, that we could spend 10 minutes talking about why we did it and why, you know, tariffs allowed us actually all this nonsense that's going on in the market, why we were able to actually get hold of this asset, an asset that we have seriously chased for about 8 years, okay? It's a market that we absolutely want to be in because we know these convention customers want to go through this market. So we did it, but we decided that we weren't going to increase the leverage, so we went out and we issued 3.5 million shares. And the reaction from our shareholders, and we did this on an overnight, was unbelievable. You know, this was many, many, many times oversubscribed. And it was the same when we did, when we raised, we did a bond offering the next day. We had like $4.5 billion chasing, you know, in the space of 3 hours, 4.5 billion-ish, you know, chasing $600 million. So our balance sheet's in great shape. We've got assets generating very high levels of cash flow. Our leverage levels, as we look at our long-range plan over the next 2 to 3 years, our leverage levels, even with the enormous amount of capital that we're spending right now, we've got capital programs going on right now for this year of about $500 million to generate, you know, 13, 14, 15% unlevered internal rates of return on these projects. Our balance sheet over the next 2 to 3 years looks extremely good. And this is one of the reasons why one of the rating agencies a couple of weeks ago upgraded us. So sorry I'm getting into detail. Thank you for having us.
Very sorry to have to cut it off, but thank you, Colin and Patrick.
Chris Morangi is a co-CIO, and Sergey Glazewski, Hannah Howard, and Justin McAuliffe are portfolio managers Gabelli Funds. This podcast is an excerpt from Gabelli Fund's 17th Annual Media and Entertainment Symposium. GAMCO is providing these links as a matter of general information. We do not intend for these links to be a complete description of any security or company, nor is it a research report with respect to any of the companies mentioned herein. As of March 31st, 2025, affiliates of GAMCO Investors Incorporated beneficially own on behalf of their investment advisory clients or otherwise approximately 31.43% of Atlanta Braves Class A, 6.32% of Class C, 11.32% of Sinclair, 5.41% of EW Scripps, 2.67% of Gray Media Class A and less than 1% of Common, 2.41% of Tegna, 2.25% of Ryman Hospitality, and less than 1% of all other companies mentioned. The analyst's views are subject to change at any time based on market and other conditions. The information in this posting represents the opinions of the analyst and is not intended to be a forecast of future events, a guarantee of future results, or investment advice. Views expressed are those of the analyst and may differ from those of other GAMCO officers, analysts, other employees, or of the firm as a whole. Because the investment personnel at GAMCO and our affiliates make individual investment decisions with respect to the client accounts that they manage, these accounts may have transactions inconsistent with the information contained in this posting. Certain GAMCO personnel may know the substance of the posting prior to its posting. This webcast is not an offer to sell any security, nor is it a solicitation of an offer to buy any security. Stocks are subject to market, economic, and business risks that cause their prices to fluctuate. When you sell shares, they may be worth less than what you paid for them. For more information, a prospectus, or summary prospectus, visit our website at www.gabelli.com or call 800-GABELLI 800-422-3554914, 921-5100 fax, 914-921-5118 info@gabelli.com.